Alright, so you've got yourself a brand new Airbus A350. There's buttons everywhere and a whole new language to learn. How do you get it to go from this to this?
50, 40, 30, 20,
Retard,
10,
retard,
5,
retard,
Have you ever wanted to join the vast multiplayer lobbies charging around busy airports without feeling like you have no idea what you're doing? Let me see if I can help. My name's James. I'm a real captain and an instructor on both the Airbus A350 and the A380. In this series, I'm going to show you how to bring the aircraft to life using real airline operating procedures. We'll visit some of the most challenging airports and I'll show you how to bring the life of an airline pilot to your home office. Let's start at the beginning. In today's video, we'll take a cold, dark cockpit to fully ready for pushback and engine start. Along the way, I'll share not just what we do, but why we do it that way. Let's get into it. Once you're in the flight deck, every Airbus cockpit setup procedure starts the same way. Engine master levers off. Start selector normal, gear lever down, looking up, wipers off. Now we don't normally find a aeroplane completely dead like this, but should we do so, we need to check first of all that the batteries have enough charge in them. So we come up here, check battery 1, 2, and then the emergency batteries, all of which should be above 25.5. So then we switch them on in the order from left to right, and then the external powers. External power 2 always comes first before external power 1. ADIRs. Note that the ADR 1 is on the left, ADR 2 is on the right because that normally powers the right hand side of the aeroplane, and then ADR 3 is usually used as a backup. That one's in the middle. Now it's currently daytime, so we don't need the integral light on. Come back here and turn that back off. Then next it says that we should start or check that the EFB laptops have been started. Now these are found here. The laptop is inside this little cage here, and if it's not already running, you press this button on top that says start. Do that on both sides of the flight deck. There's another one over here. And then on the FMS we're looking for the correct type of aeroplane, the correct engine type. Check the performance factor against the OFP. Looking for the navigation database, making sure that's in date. And under pilot stored elements, making sure there's nothing left over from a previous sector. Just clear these error messages here. Then if we're happy that all of this is correct, we can go onto the init page either through this button down here, or through the menu. And normally you would be able to press company flight plan request. It would download all of the data. And I'm sure that is a function that's available on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, but I am still learning, so I'll figure that out by the next video. For now, you're going to have to bear with me as we do it old school. So in this box here, we'd actually put the ATC call sign, because this information here that goes into the flight number box is what ties into the transponder. So let's call ourselves Airbus 123 for the day, and we're going to be flying from Heathrow, which is Echo Golf Lima Lima, to Paris Charles de Gaulle, Lima Fox Papa Golf. At this stage, this is all of the information it needs. When we come over to the Flight Ops menu, and under Flight Ops status, once again I believe there's a functionality here under SimBrief where you could click on it, but mine says unknown user ID despite you being correct. Again, if anybody knows how to get this up and running, I would appreciate comments down below. Realistically, what we want here, correct aircraft type, correct aircraft registration, flight number, doesn't really matter, call sign, Airbus 123 again, from Echo Golf Lima Lima to Lima Foxtrot Papa Golf. Now while I'm here, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the terminal charts, search for Echo Golf Lima Lima, and then I'm going to be looking for the ground chart, which is this guy here, and the reason I'm going to grab this chart early is for the takeoff computation, which comes shortly afterwards. So the next stage of our flight preparation would be to come to the EFIS control panel. We're going to take this switch and move it all the way over to plan, and we're going to take the range ring and move it to zoom, which brings up the airport navigation function. Now there's nothing here at the moment because the aircraft is still loading. Notice in the bottom right hand corner these two arrows. If you click on those and then go to status, what we're looking for is that the database of the airport navigation function is in date. The next stage is aircraft technical acceptance. So the way we do this, you hold down the recall all push button for more than 3 seconds. This will reveal any hidden ECAM cautions. See, it says normal, so there's currently nothing broken on the aeroplane. And then you would press the dispatch push button. I believe this function is going to be enabled in a future update. After this, we're going to do the APU Fire Test. Before we do so, we're going to want to have the radios set up just in case anybody needs to get hold of us. So I'm going to set VHF1 to the Heathrow delivery frequency and make sure that's audible, and then I'm going to set VHF2 to the emergency frequency. Okay, next thing we do is the engine and APU fire test. So what's going to happen is that we're going to press this button up here. We're going to have red lights on the engine 1, engine 2 and APU fire push buttons. We're going to have look for squib and discharge lights to come up, both agents for both engines and the one for the APU. We're going to be looking over here for a light to come on the main landing gear bay fire to make sure that that system is working, and then simultaneously we'd need 2 views at the same time in order to do this, because obviously my mouse is going to be up here pressing this button, but at the same time you're going to have lights on the engine master switches, which are these fire lights. You see it lighting up fire there, that will be in red, and up here on the ECAM we'll also have engine fire 1 and 2, APU fire and main landing gear bay fire. So the way we do this is we press and hold this button, we'll generate the lights that we're looking for, and you're going to want the continuous repetitive chime, which is the warning tone at the same time. So now that we have tested that the APU fire detection system is working, we can switch it on. Master switch goes on, start switch goes on, and then that will take some time. I notice on the real aeroplane it takes about 1 minute and 15 seconds to start up. Okay, so now that our APU is available, a couple of interesting points to note about the aircraft electrical system. So if I come down here and enable the AC electrical page, notice the external power here for the external power source number 1 has been automatically replaced by the APU, but it's still using external power number 2. So what we should do is come up here and disconnect external 1, and theoretically that should have absolutely no bearing whatsoever. What we'll do also then, before we forget, is we'll disconnect external power number 2, so those available means they're not currently using them, but they're there if you want them. And then while we're up here, we'll put the APU bleed on so the passengers can have some nice cool air, make sure the airflow is normal. This is a reasonable temperature range for the cockpit, and then we'll allow the cabin crew to control the temperature in the cabin. So the next step is the takeoff performance calculation. In order to do that, we will need the weather. So the way we would normally do it, we'll come into ATC.com, go to Digital ATIS, and then go Heathrow departure, and we'd send request. So we'll come to our takeoff performance application. Remember from the chart we looked at, we're going to use runway 09 right, and from the full length we want a takeoff run available of 3,658 meters here. If we were using intersections here, this is November 10, 3528, November 8, 3351, etc. So the decisions you would make as a crew is which intersection you'd like to plan for, and then the weather conditions, and then the aircraft weight that you're planning to use. So then you come into your takeoff performance application, and we're going to use Heathrow, so Echo Golf Lima Lima, and I'm going to select runway 09 right, and you'll see here it says the takeoff run available is 3,661 meters, which does not tie in with our chart. So we want to use the full length 3,658. So I'm going to come here, change 3658, because that's the smaller number is safer. And then I'm going to press synchronize, which will take the current weather for today. So 030 degrees, 8 knots, 13 degrees, 1003 will be the QNH, 151.9, and then we will compute. These are our figures. As a flight crew, I would do my figures, the first officer would do his figures, and then we would compare to make sure that we've both got the same set of numbers. If we haven't got the same set of numbers, then clearly one of us has assumed a different weight or different weather conditions, so we'd resolve that discrepancy and make sure that we're both using the same numbers. Excellent, so that's the takeoff performance calculation done. The next thing would be for the pilot monitoring to go and do the walkaround. Before they do that, there are some checks that they should do. So the first thing they need to check is the oxygen. Limitations for the oxygen, if there's only 2 pilots, 750 psi on both sides. If there are additional pilots, one of these sides, say for example there are 3 crew members, you'd need 750 psi on the left hand side, which is the captain's one, and 1050 psi on the first officer's side. Clearly we have enough oxygen today. Then we're going to look for the hydraulics, make sure that these are within the filling range. These 2 green bars here is the reasonable filling range. The other thing to do is make sure we've got enough engine oil. The engine oil requires 13 quarts minimum, so you notice that currently the systems are not displaying anything, so we need to switch on the FedEx. We'd find those on the overhead panel, switch that one on, switch that one on, and then if I come back here you'll notice that these switch on. And we've certainly got more than 13 quarts available to us in both of the engines, so the engine oil is sufficient. I'll turn these back off again. Okay, so now the pilot monitoring would go do the walkaround, and we're going to set up the overhead panel. So we'll start with the overhead panel. Wipers will go off. These are just call buttons to speak to people outside the aeroplane or give them a call during flight inside the aeroplane. This is the evacuation switch, which we'll come to in a later video. We want the crew supply system to be on. And this is the ground control for the cockpit voice recorder. Just switch that on, so from now on it's recording any conversations that you have on the ground. You keep going all the way up. Make sure that these reset switches, these are not circuit breakers, are all pushed in. Then we come to the lights. Navigation would stay on system 1. It's daytime, so the logo light can go off. So nobody's going to see it anyway. These are all the nose wheel lights, wing landing gear lights. Obviously, while we're sitting on the bay, they can stay off. The no smoking, no portable electronic devices sign can stay auto. No mobile, if installed, can go to auto. And the emergency exit light sign should be armed. The seatbelt sign will be switched on after you've finished refueling. So we have finished refueling, so I shall just pop that on now. The other lights here, so this is the annunciators, so if I set this to test, they should all come on, just to see if they're all working. Bright would be used during the day and dim at night time, so that these are slightly less bright, so that it's less glare to help you land. And normally daytime you'd leave that on bright. The standby compass and eye reference indicator, if you put that all the way through, if you go to your seating position, you get here is this is the standby compass that's now lit up. The eye reference indicator is this guy here. So if you're sitting in the correct place on an aeroplane, so if you're slightly low, you can start to see that white ball. You go slightly high enough and a little bit further forward, that white ball. So that would be the correct place for me to sit to fly the aeroplane now. And as soon as that white ball disappears behind the red one. The fuel pumps need to be turned on. And then you look further back, make sure that there's no white lights. So Airbus has just essentially the white lights off philosophy. So you notice when the fuel pumps are turned off, it has a white light. Cargo air conditioning, depending on if you have any cargo in there. This is a heater for the bulk cargo hold at the back, and this is a full temperature controlled heating and cooling for the forward cargo hold. And everything else should just stay off for now. Moving downwards, you need to make sure that the air data switches are on auto, the FMS are on normal. Check the rain repellent level while you're there. And then just make sure that the panel, obviously the park brake is set auto, spoilers disarm, flaps will be up. Set the lights as you wish. And the RMPs, these are radio management panels, can be as you want them to be. Next thing comes will be the FMS, so we'll come across here. We'll start With surveillance panels, actually what you want is that the transponder is off for the moment, so therefore it's on standby. Go to ATC COM, to the connection, make sure the ADS is, I would normally say armed at this stage of flight, rather than connected. There's not much to connect to on the ground. Message record, all messages, make sure that they were cleared from a previous flight. And then we build our flight plan. So we go back to the init page. Airbus 123 is our call sign from Heathrow to Paris-Charles de Gaulle. Our alternate today, let's assume they've given us Paris-Orly, as the weather is very nice. Let's go at flight level 240. Should give you the ISA temperature there, that's close enough. And the cost index would come from the flight plan. That's assuming cost index of 100 for this one. With the wind, you would normally be able to request the company wind, but only when the route is built. So again, if it's automatically downloaded the flight plan, this would be a lot easier at this stage. So the next thing, we start down here and just follow the buttons. IRSs make sure that they have aligned correctly. So if they say nav and the deviation is a relatively small number, they have done so. The departure will be from runway 09 right. E1 Juliet departure. The arrival, I believe we'll plan for runway 09 left. Be an ILS approach. Use the VVAX 9 Echo with the Molus transition, Mopar transition. Okay, so our route today, this is our departure, then this is the start. We need the en route portion. If it's not downloaded already, this is how you build it. Start at ModMe. The next waypoint, we're going to follow an airway uniform Mike 185. So let's go here. Uniform Mike 185. Okay, then the next waypoint will be Midhurst and then another airway. So you could type Midhurst and then the other airway, or if you type the name of the next airway, it should automatically fill in the point at which the two airways intersect, which is Midhurst. So we're going to take Midhurst to Bognor. November Oscar Golf November Alpha. And then at this point, if there are two waypoints that are not joined by an airway, they just route direct. So we go from Bognor to Hardy, and then I can just type it in here. You don't have to type direct in the via box, you can just type the waypoint and then go. It will automatically fill in direct. So then Hardy, airway again, uniform Mike 605, VVAX. And then that's our en route portion. So I'm going to insert that, and if I scroll up gently, leave it in plan mode, and if I move this all the way around, so we've got lots of space, you can see that the route generally flows in the correct direction, so we must have done something right. So back to our init page, fuel and load. So we said our zero fuel weight was 140. Zero fuel weight CG. And block fuel 11.9. Good, let's say we've got 300 passengers. All this box does here is adjust the airflow for the correct number of passengers. Taxi about 600 makes sense. We'll call our contingency minimum of about 700 kilos, 0.7 tons. Alternate final reserve fuel, sensible numbers. Next we go back to our takeoff performance. Now we calculated that earlier. You can see it just about on the corner of the screen. Apologies if you can't. 146. 148. And 152. Do a flex takeoff at 67 degrees. And we're going to use flaps 1. What it means is flaps 1 plus F. And our THS4. We want essentially this number to be within about 1% of this number. So if I just type this in, this would be confirmed by the final load sheet before you apart when they've worked out if they're going to get all of the cargo there on time and if all of the passengers have showed up. So the next page would say auto derate, so to protect engine life. The engine manufacturers like you to not climb at full power all of the time, so that's what the auto derate function does. And if there were any step climbs en route, this is where you put them in. So you pick a waypoint, go to an altitude, and then go in there. If you get stuck in a box like this, you just press escape on the keyboard and it'll take you out. And sometimes you might want to build a secondary flight plan for an immediate return. So you can say here, if you're planning to climb straight ahead, after that first waypoint, your current flight plan will turn. So I'm going to use this one here, new destination, and if we're coming straight back in, new destination will be straight back to London Heathrow. And then I will select runway 09 left for an ILS, and then you maybe go back in, and under the secondary flight plan you put in the weather, the minima for a category 1 ILS, for example, so that if things get really busy in an emergency after takeoff, then you can take off, you can swap the active flight plan for this secondary flight plan, and you've got your immediate return planned, and it's just one less thing for you to think about. So now our FMS is pretty much done. By the time you finish programming the FMS, maybe your other pilot has returned from the walkaround. Their job then is to go through the overhead panel scan and check the FMS, make sure that everything you've planned is correct and that you haven't accidentally missed something. And then you join together, you meet up here, set the QNH, which I believe was 1003. Not too far. Now these buttons here, they control what's displayed on the navigation display. So these two are the VORs, so if there are any VORs, they would be displayed in the bottom left hand corner. See, they're both currently tuned to the London VOR. Traffic displays any traffic, of course other aeroplanes in the vicinity. The terrain display would overlay the terrain in the background, so if you go further away you'll start to see some different colours. Normally the pilot monitoring would have the terrain on, and then if you press this weather button it would actually switch on the weather radar, so we don't actually do that at the gate because if there are people walking around just in front of the aeroplane it's quite dangerous for them. Constraints button, if there are constraints on your departure, so for example here they will show up in magenta, so by this waypoint here you need to be above 5,000 feet, that would be a departure constraint. And the airport's push button, there you go, that's Farnborough there that's just showed up. So this is how you would normally have them set up, and usually on both sides. Now you see we generated an ECAM caution here because I've set the QNH value on the left hand side of the flight deck, but the other pilot hasn't set it on there. So as soon as I set 1003 here, that will disappear, and then I will set his side up for him, or I need to. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is, you see this currently says out, which is not what you want to happen when you take off. So we're going to set the FCU to the level off altitude for the departure. You'd find that from the terminal chart. Scroll down to the departures and mod me SID. Bottom. You can see here we need to be going out this way. Mod me at 6,000 feet. So our initial level off altitude is going to be 6,000 feet, which is what I'm going to set in the FCU. So now it says climb, which is what you want the vertical mode to say. So that's the FCU correctly set up. You'd make sure that the altimeters are reading correctly. Now you'll see at the moment that QNH 1003 is clearly not correct as it's set in the simulator, because they currently show minus 180 feet, whereas Heathrow's elevation is about 70-ish feet, 83 feet. So actually probably 1013 is closer to what it is in real life. Ground power is disconnected. You notice the available lights on external 2 and external 1, they all disappear. We'd take the chocks, then they would connect the tug, and here you'd see nose wheel steering disconnect. And then you get the clearance. Now how do we get the clearance? So we want to communicate with ATC, so it stands to reason that we press ATC communications. You'd need the letter from the ATIS, so let's call it alpha, and then you're going to make a request. So you press request, clearance, departure, and you say, okay, so we're going to be requesting a departure from London Heathrow, and the gate is 303, right? 303. ATIS code is the letter, so let's call it alpha. So we're going to go from Heathrow to Paris, park to gate 303. We have information alpha, and it's an Airbus A350-900. Transfer that to the mailbox, that appears up here, and now you're going to send that to air traffic control. Their reply will come up here, that will be your clearance. They'll give you a squawk code, an altitude, and a departure from whichever particular runway it is. Now the squawk code would go in here, press squawk. So if they want you to squawk, I don't know, 2222, then I know your squawk is 2222. And that appears here. Also tells you that currently your transponder is on standby. Needs to be up. So there you have it, folks. We've taken a cold and dark Airbus A350 and got it ready to fly. Hope you found this video useful. If you have any unanswered questions or suggestions for future videos, why not leave them as a comment below. Keep an eye out for future videos where we'll continue to help you get the most out of your Airbus A350. If you're curious about some common misconceptions about airline pilot life, check out this video. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.